And welcome back. You know, our first guest is a registered dietitian and our open nutrition consultant. She joins us today to share more about good foods that have they've been given a bad rap, like the avocado. We welcome Carlo, Fiorella Carlo. Give him a big round of applause, everybody. Yes. The avocado, everybody said, well, it's filled with cholesterol and all that stuff. Is that true? Is it good for you? Is it bad for you?
The avocado is actually a fruit, interestingly enough. It's a drupe. And
it's a drupe?
Yeah, a drupe is basically any fruit that has a pit in the center. So it's technically called a drupe.
It droops into your life.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, it's actually one of the best things, one of the best sources of fat that you can possibly have. And so I think that people get carried away with the idea that there's so much fat in it and it's so calorically dense.
Yes.
And really, I mean, compared to other fruits.
But it's like the salmon, right?
Yes, it has the same types of, right. And so, you know, I think that they get carried away in terms of understanding that it does have more fat than other vegetables and fruits and so on. But absolutely, so many other components to it of healthy fats. It's very emollient to your body, omega-3s, as well as potassium and magnesium in them that is really great.
Yeah.
So I think that,
I love avocado.
I love them as well. You know, you have to get them a little ripe and, you know, so, and there's so many things that you can do with it. You know, it can be used in salads, it can be cut up, it can be eaten alone very simply, it can be added to dressings, it can be, you know, added to your, in a, somewhat of a pesto or a sauce to add to your vegetables as well. So it can really, it reaps a lot of benefits for that type of fruit.
You know what some people do? They get it hard and they put it in a dark place for a couple of days and it ripens in there. And it is good to go within a couple of days.
Yes, and
I guess it helps it to ripen a little faster.
And also another little tip too, if you're actually going to use it in a dish where you're presenting to other people, it's great to squeeze a little bit of lemon on it because it'll keep it green for the presentation, because the absorbic acid in the lemon kind of allows the avocado not to oxidize. So it keeps it nice and bright and green.
Especially
so if you're ever doing
guacamole.
Absolutely, because the last thing you want is true. The last thing you want is the guacamole to look kind of brown and it's like not appetizing, but you put a little lemon in there and it just keeps it bright green. So it's amazing.
Great.
And so the other is nuts, right? So nuts always get a bad rap. I always hear about,
nuts over nuts.
Love them. And they're doing such great studies on the nuts now, because what they're doing, particularly on the latest has been on the pistachio, but I think that basically this would go for all different nuts, different types of nuts. You really can't go wrong, is that they have such a high protein content to it, as well as a high fiber content to it, ounce per ounce, that a lot of the fat that are in the nuts are actually not being absorbed by the body and somewhat taken out by the fiber that's in the nut. So you're not absorbing all of it anyway. But even if you are, it's the good fat. You know, it's really, really good for you. The highest antioxidant nuts are walnuts first, almonds, and then you go down the list.
I have a bag of almonds right in the car there.
And they're a great snack. You know, they keep with the combination of the fat and the protein in it.
Make sure you have some coconut water to wash it down.
There you go.
Eulalie, Heavy D's mom, keeps telling me to get this coconut water. So
it's really good for you.
Just for the nourishment of the body and all that stuff.
It's really good for you. Coconut water as well has the same allowance of potassium and magnesium as the avocado at the same time. So anytime you want to replenish, the coconut water and the avocado are the best picks for you. But, you know, down the list, again, the other culprit I always hear, dairy. People removing dairy from their diet. And so, you know, unless you're lactose intolerant, there really is no reason to remove dairy from your diet. Particularly, there's such great lean sources of dairy, for example. I mean, you know, if you take out yogurt out of your diet, then you're losing out on a probiotic activity for that. You know, there's cottage cheese, there's cheese in general, there's kefir, which is another liquid probiotic, which is amazing for you. And what the dairy products have that are so amazing is that they're rich in protein. Vitamin D, usually fortified with vitamin D, and calcium. So they're so nutrient dense that there really literally is no reason for you to take dairy out of your diet. And I'll go one step further with that as well, is don't ever buy a fat-free dairy product again. Don't do it. Because when you're buying skim milk or fat-free yogurt and so on, what you're doing is you're taking out that little bit of fat in there that is allowing the vitamin D and the calcium to be absorbed. So the food companies, they just take that out and they add sugar instead. And then
you think you're saving on calories, but you're going to eat more of it and it's going to be the same thing.
Absolutely. Do an experiment one day. You know, have a fat-free yogurt one day, and then the next day have a 2% yogurt. And calculate how many hours it takes you to get hungry after each one. And you'll probably notice that the one with the fat in it, you'll be fuller longer.
You get that deep when you
doing when you're working with foods and you're eating?
Oh yeah, I know everything about it. I have to. I have to.
you go
I have
all
to.
the way in, right?
I have to because if
Yeah.
you're going to speak to it, you have to kind of know
Right.
what goes
Where the
on
shoes
in the
that you sell.
metabolism. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
But you know what I like to do? I like to get some cheese and chop it up in a salad with some almonds or walnuts. One or the other, not both.
Right.
And then it's a great salad.
Right.
The colorful salad, the spring salad.
Oh yes, it's amazing with the arugula, the kale. It's all the
Yeah.
different nutrients from the leafy grains.
You gotta come in and hook us up with a big salad and lace everybody up in here.
That's true. I'll make a big, really hefty, dense, nutrient-dense
Yeah.
salad for everyone. It'd be great.
What other foods have a bad rap?
So wheat. What is this with the
Wheat.
gluten-free? Gluten-free, everyone. There is literally no reason for someone to go gluten-free unless they have celiac disease. If you have celiac disease, which would be blatantly obvious
But
to
why is that
someone.
promoted all over the place? When you go in and just go to a pizza shop, gluten-free pizza,
Right,
gluten-free this.
Right. Well, it's much like any other fad. Generally people have this tendency to latch on to an idea that will give them the magic pill that would resolve every issue that they may have. It happens to be gluten. Sometimes, it's been many different things throughout different times, but right now it's gluten. And the truth of the matter is, gluten is a protein found in wheat. What happens is that when people take gluten out of their diet, which corresponds with the carbohydrates that it's attached to, they'll say, I feel better, I've lost weight. Well, the reason why you've done that is because you removed carbohydrates from your diet or at least reduced them.
Yeah.
That's the reason. It's
So you just
it's
say
not the gluten.
Filler. You didn't
Yes.
eat anything nutritional then.
You could continue to eat gluten and just lower your carbohydrates and have the same effect. So
Are
it's
people allergic to gluten?
there's celiac disease. There's the idea of being food sensitivities and so on. And if you go to maybe perhaps a homeopathic person, and they'll give you a list. Have you ever done this? They give you this 5-page list of things that you're allergic to
Yeah.
and have allergens to, and it's like. No, you don't, but people like to hear that they have all these different things in order to kind of organize their health. But the truth is there's really no reason to be on a gluten-free diet unless you have celiacs.
Should people eliminate red meat or red meats or curtail it or just
Yeah, that's
get rid
actually.
of it altogether?
And and this, of course, is coming. I'm a little biased. You're coming from a major carnivore that I am, so there's no
You don't look
way.
like you, red meat.
Yeah. Oh well, that's the thing. It's like I would never eliminate red meat out of my diet. I just couldn't.
Everything in moderation.
And it's moderation, but balance as well. So the same idea that we were talking about the nuts, right? So when you add a fiber component to any meal, it has that tendency because we can't digest fiber, right? So part of the fibrous plant is extracted through our body, right?
Yeah.
When we go to the bathroom. So basically, what it does on the way out, it grabs onto some fat. And it takes it out. That's why people who have high cholesterol are recommended a high fiber diet as well. So if you think of it in terms of meat, anytime you do have a meat meal, red meat or anything like that, you would add some fiber to it. Add your vegetables, and that would help balance everything out. And of course, they're great sources of lean red meat too. You don't always have to go into the direction of necessarily a fatty meat.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of lean sources as well, as sirloin filet. There are different cuts of meat that can really work. And think about all of the other nutrients in that meat. You have iron, you have the B12s, you have the zinc, protein, all the 11 essential amino acids. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So there's really no reason to
And
take
a lot
it
of
out.
people like to get the meats marbled,
Yes.
marbled with fat.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. You just have to watch yourself, right? That you go in moderation, right? But who can resist? Who can resist the marbling, which makes them more flavorful?
You cook
just
a really
have
nice
to.
steak?
I've learned to do it in a Manhattan apartment. I've learned to.
Really?
Yeah, I can get a nice crust. Trial and error. People think it's very difficult to cook a steak on a pan, but really, the grill is the best, of course, right? But when you're in a Manhattan apartment and you have your pan, you just need to high heat.
Do we have to turn off the smoke
Sear.
detectors or anything?
Yes, yeah, sometimes. That's happened. In my trial and error phase, my neighbors came over. Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
But it smells so good in there while
Oh,
that
it's so
thing is
good,
beeping.
isn't it?
Huh?
It's amazing. So you just add it, balance it out with high fiber foods and vegetables, and you're great.
So, are these fats? There's a lot of fats that are bad for you.
Well, there's a lot of the saturated fats, right? And mostly the ones that you have to look into are the things that are in processed and packaged foods.
Yes.
You know, things that come from the earth, out of the ground, off a tree, from, you know, that are walking around, those are the most natural places. Those are the ones that are most bioavailable and biocompatible with our bodies and our ability to absorb. As soon as they start getting packaged, right, then it's not that product anymore. It's not that food anymore.
Yeah.
It's filled with sugar and salt and so on and preservatives, and then it's not that, you know, product anymore. It becomes the preservatives.
It
And
opens
that's
up the
where-
door for all kinds of degenerative diseases like diabetes and hypertension and all of that stuff.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. Give her a big round of applause, everybody. Our resident registered dietitian, Fiorulla DiCarlo, with her great tips on restaurant dining. Good things to look out for. Next time you come, you're going to toss up a nice salad.
Yes, absolutely.
You sure?
Well, we can do it. Absolutely, we can do
And
it.
should
I'll
we
get all the
turn off the
components.
smoke detectors and everything?
Please
You hook
do.
up a steak?
Well, I won't. Just a salad. Let's do cold products
We'll start
first.
off with the salad first. Thank you so much.
Sure, of course.
All right, we're going to take a quick break right here, but coming up, we'll sit down with an organization working to help our youth succeed. Stay tuned.
That's so funny.
That was good. That was
That's
good.
good. That's good. Good.
A lot of people talk about that album.